Link engaged.
Visit us at TeamSpeak.com.
Hey everybody, this is Josh Suth, or Ask Joshy on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.com. I'm here with Cat's Pajamas, and we're casting Game 1 in this best-of-3 semifinal being played between coL.Drewbie, he is the blue Terran, over here on the right side spawn of Metalopolis, and his opponent today is going to be FnaticTT1. He is the light blue Protoss up on the top side. Did I say Drewbie was Protoss? I think I may have said that wrong.
Anyway, well, he is Terran, and it is, we do know that, of course. He's a member of your own team. But, you know, I'm really interested to see Drewbie's play. I haven't watched much of him post IPL2 when he went to Korea and things like that. He was getting very, very, very good before he left to train overseas. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring here and how his practice time overseas has gone.
Yeah, I think this is actually his first sort of showing since those Code A qualifiers that I've actually been able to see him play in a tournament. He has been doing some streaming from the GOM TV Foreigner House, and he's been making those vlogs on ComplexityGaming.com as well.
Yes.
Where he's got Naniwa sitting next to him and Phoenix sitting behind him, and they're all playing each other off race and talking crap about each other and stuff. It's pretty amusing stuff if you haven't seen that, but now it's serious time. It's game time between TT1 and Drewbie. Obviously, these guys are like great friends. I remember back in, I think it was April or May, when I was visiting them in Florida, they were all living together boot camping for MLG, and that was a pretty ridiculous couple of weeks there in Florida with Cats, Drewbie, TT1, and Phoenix.
Yeah, I remember watching a lot of your vlogs on your own YouTube channel and things like that. Very insightful and very lighthearted as well. But so here we have it. We are close positions by air on Metalopolis. No surprises out at TT1 yet. If I know TT1 as well as I think I do, we're probably going to see some form of a Sentry expand. He does love his early gateway pushes and things like that. Although I have noticed recently in the IPL3 qualifiers that he has been switching up his play a little bit and throwing people off guard with higher tech units, something we're not used to seeing all that often out of TT1. Especially in the mid game.
Yeah, TT1's typically lots of gateways or lots of Colossi, not a whole lot of variants. If High Templar tech or DTs or something show up, I'll actually be a little bit surprised. But Drewbie, on the other hand, looks like we are not going to see a super fast expansion out of him in this game. He's going to go for a quick 2 racks, 1 with a reactor. That's actually a little surprising. Normally in these TVP openings, you'll see the tech lab either to get super fast concussive shell or even squeeze out a Reaper pretty quick on Metalopolis to get some quick scouting information.
TT1 does decide to go ahead and steal gas there, which is a little bit interesting. A lot of people would think, oh, well, he's already scouted 2 racks. It's not like Drewbie's going to need all that much gas to pull this off. Why did he do that? Well, what this tells TT1 is exactly the unit composition that Drewbie's going for. Drewbie could be going for some sort of an early 2-rack stim timing. He could be going for that concussive shell push behind a couple of Marauders. He has a lot of flexibility in this build.
He's also supply blocked, building those first 2 Marines out of the reactor.
Yes, he is. That is actually pretty bad. But TT1 is going to notice exactly what bio units come over to destroy the assimilator. So he'll get an idea and a feel for what upgrades are coming out of Drewbie as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Drewbie will just send over that 1 Marine. He's got guarding the ramp right now once the next 2 pop out. Drewbie's actually headed way around, all the way around the map toward TT1's natural right now with a single scouting SCV, and TT1 on the other hand is dropping a pylon on the corner of his base and sending a single stalker over to check out Drewbie's front here. He's going to run into 3 Marines and a Marauder, so the assimilator thing, excuse me, is not going to matter too much when he sees that that big rocket coming at his face, and concussive shells are going to be the first upgrade here out of that tech lab from Drewbie. Stim should follow up right after that, but this is really where I'm curious. What is Drewbie going to do next after these 2 racks and these upgrades get complete?
And we'll find out, because he's not stopped on unit production for a while. A lot of people will pressure and decide to expand behind it and get that early economy down. I'm going to see exactly what he has scouted out of his opponent. Well, that's pretty much everything, as he's still got a little SCV running around there. So he knows it's a 3 racks opening out of TT1. So far, what he doesn't... Did he actually see? Hold on, let me check. No, he did not see the 4th racks down, or the 4th gateway, I'm sorry, down at the bottom left before he got out of the base. So I don't know if he knows how much pressure he's actually going to be under.
Yeah, lucky for TT1 that Drewbie actually did not see that. There are so many Marines and Marauders out now that Drewbie doesn't appear to be slowing down. He does actually have a command center building in his main now, so it looks like he's planning to expand. I wonder if TT1 has something similar in mind. He is actually just about to get that 4th gateway done, and the fact that that pylon was dropped next to the Nexus and not on the low ground makes me really curious if TT1's got expansion plans at all.
Yeah, I would say not at the moment. He's going to expend all his resources and outright attack for a little while. We'll see how aggressive he actually wants to be. He has resources to expand, and he's investing in low mineral units, which means he could throw down an expansion at the moment. We do have a probe coming down as well. Yeah, so this is going to be a 4-gate expand. We also have forward pylons being thrown down all across the map. But Drewbie is already on a very defensive position. He's got a wall coming up. He's got a bunker in place. So he will be able to force a lot of those units through a choke and maximize his defenses for a while.
Yeah, TT1 actually saw something he didn't like and just decided to back up. He sent that probe up first and got just absolutely slaughtered by the the huge bio count there. And if TT1 can't get good use out of those force fields, there's really no reason to attack in. If the command center, the orbital command, was already at the natural and those units were on the low ground for him to fight, that would have been a great time to engage with all these sentries. But the fact that he would have to push up a ramp, force fields would be a lot less effective, and he doesn't have enough really stalkers in that mix to kill units on the high ground. Like sometimes you can force field and pin them in close to the stalkers, but he just doesn't have enough stuff to make that a worthwhile attack. So I like the fact that he retreated. I like the fact that he's expanding and now getting a robotics facility up. Everything from both players seems to be pretty solid so far in this early game. Third barracks is done. Third tech lab barracks is done, and the factory and starport are both in production now, or actually producing things now, excuse me.
Yes, indeed. 2 medevacs coming out at the same time. No engineering bay yet. Those are going to remain relatively unupgraded Marines, of course, with the exception of the general bio upgrades that have come out of the tech labs. But anyway, so Orbital Command floating its way over to the 3 o'clock position, and we will see the natural set down for Drewbie as he was abusing that Orbital Command in base for a few mules, so on and so forth, for a little while. Looks like Drewbie actually may be moving his units up to the top for a drop, or is he anticipating some sort of play out of TT1 here? I'm actually not sure at the moment. Looks like he is going to get ready for that drop, and it's going to make its way over to TT1's base right now.
Yeah, TT1 doesn't seem to be 100% prepared for this since all of his fighting units are there at the low ground right now. Drewbie's going to get a free pylon at least. Might even, oh no, it's like we had to pause right at the moment Drewbie was dropping into the base. That's gotta hurt. Drewbie is actually taking a lot of probes already, may be able to kill off one of these assimilators. It really just depends on what targets he's going to value. Instead, he's going to run all the way back into the corner and take out that free pylon and get the heck out of there. So, a very effective attack from Drewbie, not losing anything and managing to kill off a couple of workers there.
You know, I flipped over to the APM tab for a second to see what their effective APM was during the attacks, and it's still freaking me out a little bit with the average APM of 74 and 90 between the 2 players. Of course, that is the result of patch 1.4 taking away from spam APM, so to speak. But nonetheless, TT1, he took a little bit of damage there, and he is supply blocked at the moment, but he still has a little bit of supply advantage over his opponent. Most of that is in workers at the moment still, despite his losses he suffered before. So he's still in a good spot economically. It's mostly going to be whether he decides to expand here in a bit or just build off a 2 base and meet this his opponent's force head on.
Look at TT1's main base right now, and you'll see 6 gateways, 7th on the way. If Drewbie actually pops in there with those medevacs, lifts from the low ground to the high ground, and darts in there and just manages to take out a couple of pylons, TT1 would be pretty crippled for that brief time, and then he could just drop back on the low ground because there's no colossi out, there's no air units or anything like that to be able to pursue. So I'm really wondering, oh wow, that's such a great placement there for Drewbie to actually pick off that pylon, but he doesn't do it. He just starts to turn around instead as he starts to spy those stalkers coming in. So here come the 4 medevacs full of units that we were just talking about. TT1 looks like he's going to continue rolling. No, he actually backs up a little bit as well. And Drewbie is in such a good spot right now to do a ton of damage inside of TT1's base. His mobility just isn't there right now, and the robotics facility gets gunned down incredibly quickly.
And like that, he was going after tech and production structures right there before those pylons initially. He could actually start to retreat or pick up those medevacs. Oh no, he gets a lot of forces trapped up by some force fields. There we go. Now picking up as some stalkers run around from the right-hand side as well to pinch those units in. Drewbie gets away, only suffering a little bit of losses, and does take out some pretty significant tech in the process. I was kind of hoping that he was going to start backing himself up and sniping pylons as he ran to the back, picked up in the medevacs, and left, but still managed to do a little bit of damage, albeit TT1 still does have a pretty healthy supply lead.
Yeah, TT1 now actually looking really strong with another big round of Stalker Warpins, and he is switching gears now over to the Twilight Council instead of rebuilding that robotics facility right away so that he can get Blink most likely. He does have an observer over the base of Drewbie, so he's going to be able to utilize that if he does get Blink out quickly. Drewbie may want to consider switching to Ghosts here soon, as this unit count is going to get really high here for TT1. Good concave there by TT1, but just doesn't have enough forces here, and all the sentries coming in from the top now would have been nice to have there at the beginning of that engagement. So now Drewbie is going to swing the pendulum back in his favor there in the supply count, up by about 10 there near the end of this. But oh, they're still going to go at it. I can't believe TT1 is actually committing to this with the Guardian Shield and the limited force fields that he has. The Immortal on the low ground is going to get focused down by the Marines. Force fields just trapping everything, but Drewbie of course has that medevac. If he wants to escape, he certainly could, but instead it looks like he's going to lose a lot of units there. TT1, I don't know how you actually managed to end that fight with more units than Drewbie.
Yeah, but that still put TT1 in a really, really bad spot. He lost a lot of those very expensive sentries and immortals, is left with relatively fragile stalkers, and Drewbie is actually reinforcing very, very well and has the defensive position behind this bunker while not being at any sort of a base disadvantage from his opponent. So I think Drewbie came out way, way in the advantage there. It was just seemed that engagement just felt very uncomfortable for me because TT1 only engaged with about half his forces in those stalkers, and as you were mentioning before, should have engaged at the same time with those sentries so he could have thrown down some force fields, or at least given his now 6-range immortals a little bit better engagement.
Yeah, and actually I'm a little surprised right now the production tab, there's Charge being researched before Blink, even though he's just been warping in mass rounds of those stalkers, but now it's kind of at a position where he needs to decide when he wants to take his third base. It looks like now might be the time. Probe, are you gonna build something? Anyway, he's after those several rounds of stalkers, when I expected Blink, he's been making only zealots just to be a little bit more efficient off of those 2 bases that he's got. Drewbie is gonna start building his third base now at that logical third base spot. Not gonna do anything risky and go for the gold or a hidden base or anything like that. Just a straight up play from Drewbie so far. Still just going with MMM, but now he did take my advice and get Mobius Reactor and Ghosts on the way. So EMPs could make a big difference. There's a drop actually in T21's main. Can't believe I missed part of that. Stalkers shooting down these Marauders now. Drewbie did actually snag a few more probe kills there with that attack. So TT1 left with 53 probes against 51 SCVs. Still in pretty good shape. Very even looking economies right now.
Yeah, but Drewbie has expanded already and is swinging around for attack at the top left-hand corner. Basically, I was watching the drop. He took down one probe, initially sniped off the pylon that was being constructed and picked off a couple of the units as he made his way to the back. Maybe didn't make up for all of the money that he had invested into that drop, but still did some pretty good damage. We see a lot of SCVs transferring down to the bottom right-hand corner, as they will be Maynarding, I never can say that right, their way over to the third base. And if Drewbie is able to sit on that for any length of time, he is actually going to pull a pretty critical advantage in this game, especially with those ghosts in the composition. And that drop is starting to do quite a bit of damage. The Stalker is not quite... There it goes. It finally goes down. Charge Lights are going to move in and clean up the rest, pulling up the workers killed tab. Drewbie has actually killed 17 workers this entire game, and that's actually a pretty decisive advantage for him.
Drewbie has 4 ghosts out right now. TT1 is making a couple of Archons, going into full Charge Lot Archon mode. He's got 32 Charge Lots there with 0-1 upgrades, so he's got the armor advantage here. I think weapons would be nice to get at this point, but his Forge actually is inactive right now. Drewbie's still rolling all of his upgrades for his MMM, and these ghosts, where are they positioned in his army? They're just kind of scattered throughout there. Usually you'll see them at the front so they can cloak and do some early damage, or at the back just so they can land EMPs safely, but he's just hanging out with them for now, not too worried about it. TT1 just spreading out his army right now. There he's starting to move with absolutely everything. He's going to go the long way around to circumvent that Xel'Naga Tower. TT1 knows if he's not in control of it, Drewbie most likely is, so he is going to skirt all the way around with most of his forces and only come over to the Xel'Naga Tower with a handful of Zealots and Stalkers. Drewbie, a little bit suspicious maybe, comes down with his entire bio force, but now TT1 is in an aggressive position. Drewbie is going to have to fall back a little bit and just hope for a good engagement here. Look for the super good EMPs here.
And here we go. I will say Drewbie is being surrounded at the moment. The EMPs go on the units to the top, and then finally the ones on the bottom, but the ghosts were actually a little bit exposed, and Charge Lots came in and killed them all. Drewbie's stimming back as fast as he can. Most of these Zealots are down and out of shields. They haven't taken a lot of permanent damage yet, now being forced to retreat, as TT1 is just going to walk into a wall of Marines and Marauders. Drewbie, despite the fact that he has stimmed several times, has actually done an incredible amount of damage to this force. He is now skyrocketing his supply advantage, and there are only very, very fragile stalkers left over. The Archon does die, and TT1 is going to see his entire force disappear, and his force is GG.
Ouch. So TT1 does GG. If you look at the unit health there at the end, Drewbie would have died almost completely to a Psystorm or two. So
Yeah.
if only TT1 had waited a little bit longer for Psystorm research and not made 2 Archons and instead just went for Storm, that could have been a very different tale there. But Drewbie is going to take game 1 there on Metalopolis.
And there we have it, folks. So Drewbie takes game number 1. If you guys are just joining us, we are already on semifinal number 2. Unfortunately, in the MTW Damaga versus Zenix Hack series, Damaga dropped and has not been seen online for over an hour since then. So he was unfortunately disqualified. So Hack will be facing the winner of this series. Guys, we're going to head into game number 2 in just a second, so don't go anywhere.